just let's first thank Sheriff Wood and Chief Deputy Steele, as well as Sergeant Adley, who nominated me for this, and the county for awarding me this. We have a great group of guys at the Sheriff's Office who go above and beyond every day. We all work together. We couldn't do it without every one of them there, and I'd like to thank you gentlemen for this also.
Thank you.
No, thank you for your service. Thank you. Rose, we have one more item on the agenda. Can you come back to the mic, please?
Surprise! Chad wanted to take a minute and nominate you as Employee of the Month.
Oh my gosh. Chad.
He got everything together, spoke to the commissioners, took care of everything to make sure that you would accept the recognition, because we all know that you wouldn't. So we just want to take a minute and say thank you for everything that you do for everybody. We all know that your job isn't easy. I don't know why I'm shaking so bad. I'm like, your job is not easy, but you do it very well, and we appreciate everything that you do. So thank you.
Thank you.
And you're Employee of the Month also.
Yes.
Thank you. It's a pleasure to be here. I told the commissioners when I first interviewed for this job that this was my dream job. Some days I'm not sure it's my dream job, but I love it. I appreciate the commissioners, the employees, and Chad always tells me, we were talking today about how he makes us happy every day. If you're having a crappy day, Chad comes in for a minute and thanks us. Yeah. And so thank you to everyone. I'm really shocked.
Let's have your family come up so we can take a picture too. You know, it's only fitting after all the years of giving them that you receive one too. So.
Thank you very, very much.
And Chad, thank you.
Yep. Thanks, Chad.
Thank you, Chad.
Thank you. Item number 2 on the agenda is approval of CIB priority list for fiscal year 2019 for Carbon County. Michael Bryant.
Feels like a regular occurrence for me to come before you. This is an annual process that the Community Impact Board requires each county to do, is to adopt a capital improvements list for short-term and medium-term. The short-term list that you have before you was prioritized a few weeks ago by all of the various selected entities that are on that list. And so those projects have been prioritized, 1 being the highest priority and 13 being the least priority on there. Like I said, this is an annual process. There's not much to discuss about it, but if you have any questions or anything, I'd be happy to answer those.
Michael, I was just wanting to point out or have some clarification for everyone here. You work for the Association of Local Governments, correct?
Correct.
And your title or your position there is planner, right?
Correct.
Okay. Now we have a county planner, Todd Thorne, but you with the association are a planner for 4 counties in essence.
Yes.
And you bring us the CIB list that we participate, we provide input on, we balance, so to speak, the needs of our community, and then you submit that to the CIB board.
Yes.
Okay. Just wanted to make sure that I have everything straight myself and informational for everyone in the room.
I think there's a great deal of difference between the 2 planning positions, though. Wouldn't you agree?
Yes, my position facilitates many facets where Mr. Thorne does primarily land use and building. So. Correct,
because yours goes well beyond just plan and land use and codifying and looking at all the government ordinances that go with counties and cities. So which is part of what you do, I realize.
That's correct.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Commissioners, I'd make a motion to go ahead and approve this list so it can be forwarded on to the CIB.
Have a motion?
I'll go ahead and second that motion. I was just wondering, should we read through the first top 5 or talk about some of those items that are relevant to our community that are going before the CIB? Commissioner Potter, I know that you've been on the CIB board before. I was wondering if maybe you could share with us the process.
You know, I don't know that there's much to share, just simply because each project has to stand on its own. Of course, the Community Impact Board is a funding source for rural counties, rural communities in regards to their improvements, particularly capital improvements. We see a lot of all the way from equipment to buildings to facilities. So each applicant has to stand on their own and make their own application. But as a county, we have to approve that list. So over the years of the CIB, they've funded over $1 billion in rural improvements throughout the state of Utah. Preference is given to those counties that do produce minerals, and so we have been the beneficiary, of course, of our share of that opportunity. So that's really what that process is. Each project has to have a public hearing that goes in with the application, and indication of what they're asking for, whether it's grant, loan, or even a 0% type loan. And it's just a wonderful resource for all of us to be able to utilize the mineral revenues that our areas generate. And that's the heavy generating areas are Duchesne County, Uintah County, Carbon County, and then Sevier County.
Very good.
Did you want to read through any of the list?
I was just going to say for Carbon County, number 1, we have East Carbon an ambulance for $150,000 and requesting a full grant for that. Helper City, there's a rescue fire truck, and the negotiations have come out where we'd like a $350,000 grant with $150,000 local payback, some type of loan. And then Public Safety Radio Infrastructure Phase 1, Barry, you are very involved with that. The state is requiring that our local area upgrade its radio system. But, you know, in what we're looking for is having a CIB of $1.8 million and a local match of $100,000. And then for Wellington City, a fire truck, $200,000 grant with a $50,000 payback from the county. And then number 5 being Price City, East Water, 300 East Water and Sewer Replacement, which is a $1.2 million price tag with a 50-50 grant and loan payback. There's a variety of other items on here, from cemetery improvements to sewer systems to ambulance and other vehicles. And we have been very fortunate in the past to have a member of our county commission on the CIB board since Duchesne in the 2016-2017 transitions began producing more or having more minerals extracted than, am I correct, it was Duchesne?
Correct.
Produced more minerals than Carbon County. We lost that seat. We did petition to keep a seat on that board, but we were turned down. However, they still treat us very kindly since we are a mineral producing county.
Our current representative is from our ALG, which is Bruce Adams from Monticello.
Thank you. It's also important to note that just because it's on the list doesn't mean it will be funded, or that the city or the county has to go out for those monies. It's just if things fall in line, and the entity can then go after those monies.
We submit our priorities from our county, and they then the board decides on who gets funded and at what level.
Correct. Okay, we have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion passes. Item number 3, consideration of possible approval of a grant application to the Utah Defense Commission for grant monies to improve local indigent defense services. Commissioners, I had a conversation with Christian earlier today, and I don't think we're ready to move on this.
That's correct, Commissioners. We're still gathering some numbers for this. There are a lot of numbers they want. Some of them are hard to come up with. We're meeting with our, for example, tomorrow we're meeting with our software people who can run some reports for us to see if we can't figure out how many conflict appointments were made, or in other words, how many times a conflict of interest arose with the primary attorney on a case. That's one of the numbers we have to come up with. We're trying to get a report on that from our software system. We have to have that for the last couple of years, so we're trying to come up with some estimates there. So Jerry Gamber at the ALG has been helping us with that. She's just waiting for information from us. We're trying to feed it to her as quick as we can here so we can get that application in. The deadline, well, the next consideration of funding is May 22nd, at which CDI will be considering grants. So I'm sure we'll have our application in well before then, but we want to make sure, but we're still gathering information for that right now.
Do you have a timeline to suggest we should bring it back?
Why don't we just keep it on for the next couple weeks? Put it on again in 2 weeks and see where we're at.
See where we are?
Mhm.
Okay.
Perfect.
I'd make a motion to table.
I'll second the motion to table.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Item number 4, review and possible consideration of a lease agreement for new 7th District Courthouse building between Carbon County and Administrative Office of the Courts. Christian.
Commissioners, as you can see, Seth and I yesterday worked on comments in response to Mr. Lunsford's most recent comments on behalf of the AOC. We sent those off to him this morning. I don't know that he's had a chance to review them. Basically, we determined that we can live with about 8 or 9 of their changes, and we requested, there are 2 changes we're really urging them to make. And again, those 2 changes are, 1, we want the contract to reflect that the AOC has in fact worked with county in designing the building and monitoring its construction, and that they've been able to review the progress and work with us in change orders and make sure they've got everything they need in there. So the way the contract now reads, it implies that there will be a development of a construction schedule and a development of a plan, when in fact that construction schedule and the plan has already been developed and adhered to and is almost finished. So we simply say that they've been involved, they've helped, they've gotten what they've wanted. We will continue to work with them until it's ended. We'll work with them in developing a final punch list as needed. So we want language that reflects that. The other changes, we simply want them to acknowledge that the payment schedule that's on that Exhibit B is going to be the payment schedule subject to changes to the operation and maintenance cost. And even though there are other provisions elsewhere in the contract that say the O&M costs will change every 3 years, and that we want the consideration portion of the contract to state that consideration paid will be subject to Exhibit B, subject to the changes to the O&M cost. I think it's important that that reference to the changes in the O&M be right there in the consideration provision, so that nobody can state, well, we're just going to go exactly off the schedule. No, the schedule is going to be modified by the O&M costs, and I think it's important that that be very clear. So that's the extent of those changes. We've got those 2 requests in, hoping, I think they're pretty moderate, reasonable requests, and hopefully we'll get that wrapped up within the next couple days. I have not heard from Mr. Lunsford. I don't know if Seth has heard from him or his office today. I know they were coming down to do a walkthrough, but I doubt they've had a chance to respond to my suggestions yet.
No, he sent me a reply email. He received them, and he wants to get together, tomorrow or the next day to go through them. So,
Is he going to be here tomorrow or the next day?
no, we'll have to do it by phone. He wasn't able to come down today. They're still taking care of some things up north.
Okay.
So as far as considering the lease agreement, we don't have anything to consider at this point.
Well, I mean, the changes are small enough that if you wanted, I think you could say, assuming that the
subject to a positive outcome of your negotiations or something like that.
Sure, you could approve it, or if you want to see it, of course, though it's a substantial contract, if you want to see it one final time, you could table it again and make sure and have the final draft approved by you.
Commissioners, I'd feel more comfortable doing that, tabling it and seeing the final draft. What are your thoughts?
I'm good with that. Do you want to put it in the form of a motion?
I'll go ahead and move that we table this item until we have a final draft that everyone has agreed to.
I'll second that.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion passes. Item number 5, update on projects funded by Carbon County Recreation and Transportation. Commissioners, this is something that I brought forward and wanted to, in an attempt to be more transparent, there's been some questions.
When it's the Carbon County Recreation Transportation, is that the Special Service District you're speaking of?
Correct.
Okay.
This is the Recreation Transportation Special Service District. Matter of fact, we have 2 of the board members here today. There were some questions about some of the projects that were funded, and I just want to give an update on those. Barry, are you ready? Can you kill the lights?
You got a presentation?
There was a question raised about some of the purchases, and in an attempt to be open and transparent, we wanted people to know where and what reasons we had for spending the money. The question is did we spend $200,000 on a snowplow? The answer is yes, but it's not just a snowplow, it's also a dump truck. It will be used year-round for multiple purposes. Next slide. One of the questions that was brought up is, can that money be used for other purposes? Last year we had layoffs, and the answer is no. The money that comes from the Recreation Transportation Special Service District is very defined in its premises. It can be used for certain things and not for others. So one thing it can be used for is the updating of our equipment and our ambulances, our sheriff's vehicles, and those things. And the Recreation District has provided funding for those things, so that through this time where the monies are lean, we can try and keep our fleets to the best standard that we can. Yes, there is some maintenance that we are putting off, but where we can and where the Recreation District is available to help us with some of those costs, it is greatly appreciated that they're allowing us to go after these monies. I just wanted to talk a little bit about the trucks as well. The trucks that we are replacing, there's 2 trucks that are no longer roadworthy. These are just some of the details of the things that are wrong with those trucks. We broken frame mounts, broken plow mounts. So that's just a list of some of the things. We have a couple pictures as well. These are older trucks. We did do a Kelly Blue Book to try and find out the cost of the truck compared to the cost of fixing some of these. The trucks ranged anywhere from a couple $100 to $6,000-7,000. They're, this year of truck with this many miles and the wear and tear on the truck, they don't hold their value very well. There are some problems that make them unroadworthy, like the broken frames. So that's the reason why we went to the rec board and asked for the trucks. The tailgates don't shut all the way. They dribble material down the road. Some of those things can be fixed with some welding, but therein lies, do you spend money on a truck that's only worth so much, or if you have money available through the Special Service District, do you continue to try and keep your fleet in the best operating shape that it can be? This slide basically shows the amount of work that these trucks do year in and year out, the number of snowplow lanes that they plow in one pass every time it snows, whether it's a foot or 3 inches. We have 448.5 lane miles of plow road, and then during the summer, the average miles on those trucks delivering gravel to projects and hauling chips to our road projects. We put a lot of miles and a lot of wear and tear on these trucks. So I think that's all we have for this. And I just wanted to, since we have some of the board members here, extend a thank you to them for allowing us to purchase some of our equipment through them. Instead of kicking the can down the road, this is an option that we have to try and maintain and keep current what we can on our equipment. Commissioners, do you have anything else to add?
You know, Commissioner Hopes, I would just simply add that, again, because of their foresight and they're willing to plan ahead knowing what the projected budgets are, theirs is a moving target also. But when they commit funds to the county, this particular purchase was budgeted into this year's budget, and in 2 ways. One, the expense, obviously, for the purchase of the truck, but the revenue from the Special Service District. So I know it in your slides it had the indication that this did not come out of the general funds of the tax base for the county, nor the B&C road funds, nor anything related to the road department. This funding came from the Special Service District. And again, thank you, board members, for allowing us to be able to keep up on this type of a purchase.
Well, and Commissioner Hopes, I'd just add a thank you to you for presenting this to everyone and helping us answer some of those questions that we sometimes receive from the public, where as your assignment to the Special Service District, you have those answers more readily available. So thank you.
You're welcome. Item number 6 on the agenda is update on Exit 240 beautification project. Kathy Hannah Smith. Kathy contacted me. She is not going to be able to make it. She tried to get another board member here to present, and the other board member was also unavailable. Commissioners, I have been helping with this beautification committee. If you'd like, I can give the update, or we can postpone it.
I would like to hear a short update, even if we do have Kathy come back at a later time. I just think it would be good. There have been a lot of questions about the beautification project, and I think a lot of it stems from just people not knowing the details and not knowing how things are paid for, not knowing why the decision was made. I was just wondering if maybe you could touch on some of those highlights.
Yes. So the beautification committee comes out of the Economic Development Committee. That was the broader overall general Economic Development Committee. This is a subcommittee under the Economic Development Committee, and they're tasked with trying to find ways to update, beautify, and make our community look more attractive to students that want to come to USU Eastern, or businesses, or even just the average visitor that wants to come into our community. These projects were identified to try and give a facelift to some of the tired streets that we have. This committee has been working on several projects. The one of most notable or noteworthy project is the Exit 240. But before we show the slide, I want to talk about some of those that have donated to this beautification project. Chancellor Peterson has put in some of his own money. Johnson Appraisal has put in some money.
Did you say his own money from his own pocket?
From his own pocket.
So not the university?
Correct.
Wow.
Emory Telecom put in a significant amount. Castleview Hospital has also donated a very significant amount. Jones and DeMille has put in some in-kind services. Carbon County, as the county, put in some in-kind services. Price City, as we get into this project, Price City did a large amount of the hauling of the rock. This was kind of a everybody all hands on deck project where Price City helped haul, USU Eastern helped haul the rock. Carbon County placed the rock. Nelco Construction also hauled some rock. Nielsen Construction or Staker Parsons donated some rock and also helped with some of the design work. Dinosaur Tire put in some funding money. Dugout Mine put in some funding money. Skyline Mine, UDOT put in $50,000 for Exit 240. It's to be split out proportionally for each quadrant of that, and that is for the purchase of any rock material that is on that. And then Walmart also put in some money as well. So in total, this committee has helped to fundraise $35,800 to go towards beautification projects. Most of the majority of the rock that was used on this was county rock out of our free use pit, and that was in-kind donation from the county. It is a cost to the county to be able to crush that, but that was our in-kind. Any rock that was purchased through the UDOT money, and some of the money that is from these other donors. So not all of the money for this project. There will be still a significant amount. I think, I don't have the number in front of me, but it sticks in my mind that it was around $12,000 or $13,000 in purchase of rock for this project, and whatever hauling we had to pay for to complete this project. So most of it was donated through in-kind work to complete this project. So there will be significant money left over to do more beautification projects as we partner with people in the community to start updating. The next project they're looking at is that main drag that gets us to USU Eastern, as we want to highlight our college and become better partners with them, our university. We felt that was an important avenue to start highlighting as people come in and go to the university. We want that to be beautified. So that's their next project, the next goal that they're looking at beautifying. That's where some of those monies will be spent. So if you haven't driven by Exit 240, we have a little video that was put together. This was during the construction phase. I guess the other important thing to note is that we're working on putting together the other project, or the other four quadrants, or excuse me, the other three quadrants. But we wanted to phase this in, one, because it was county employees, Daniel Campbell from the road shop, and also Price City, and the donation of trucking from Nelco and Nielsen's. We didn't want to burden everybody so much in one year that we thought we could phase this in. So we do have, it is our desire to continue to beautify the other four, or the other three quadrants. but we're doing this as money and time allows for our crews to do. Commissioners, do you have anything else to add?
I was just, I guess, I had a question from somebody about this project, and they were asking about what taxpayer dollars went towards it. And I guess a proper response to them would be the taxpayer dollars associated with county road shop employees who will be paid to do something for the county, and this was highlighted as a priority for the moment.
Correct. And yes, that is the answer. I'm not trying to sugarcoat it, but yes, we did spend county employee time towards the project.
But as far as other dollars, I mean, you had to purchase maybe a little bit of rock, but most of the rock came from our own quarries.
Correct.
And I say that in part question because you're the commissioner assigned to the subcommittee that was involved in the whole project.
Correct. The other thing to note is this has been on the Carbon County Master Plan for longer than I have been on the commission, and has risen multiple times as a project that needed to be done, and I'm glad to see that we were able to get something done. I know that timing is not the greatest, but we need to, in my opinion, we need to start putting on a better face and moving forward and make ourselves appealing to those that want to be here or want to reinvest in our community.
Thank you.
It's community-wide. We have Helper's doing a fantastic job on their own. Helper has taken the bull by the horns, and they've done some amazing things, and that's a great point. Maybe we should do some more highlighting of what they've done as well. Their main street is looking absolutely
Mr. Chair,
amazing.
Mr. Chair, may I speak to the question?
Mm-hmm.
As far as Helper, there's the river project, and we're on either third or fourth stage. I have been involved with the support of that project for the last 3 years, and was just requested to provide another unique letter of support for the funding process. Again, as far as funding, we're not talking taxpayer dollars, but we're talking getting different grants that the engineering firm that is doing the project has been successful to garner for Helper City the last several years. And there will be another funding process that we're just entering into in this. I think the deadline is next week. So that process is going forward. The county has always been supportive of the river project out there, the beautification project along the river. And so no, we have not forgotten about Helper.
And that, as far as the overall Economic Development Committee, all of the communities are involved. A rising tide raises all ships. We're all in it together, and we all need everybody's help. So yes, we are trying to reach out to the cities and help each community in whatever ways we can. So that's a great question. Thank you. Item number 7, consideration of possible approval of a contract with UDOT for the transportation. Utah Department of Transportation, UDOT, US 6 100 North interchange improvements. Commissioners, this is simply the agreement with UDOT concerning the money that UDOT has put forward. That's the $50,000. There were some questions. They were going off the original bid. I called and talked with the person that sent us the document and asked her if we needed to hold this off, and she told me no, because they're only going to give us the $50,000. It doesn't matter what we spend. Their money is for the rock, and we can show that we use the money for the rock through our invoices to them. So she didn't see any need to change the agreement. So if you guys have any questions, we can try and answer those.
I'll make a motion to approve the contract with UDOT.
I'll second the motion to approve the UDOT contract.
We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Motion passes. Thank
And
you.
that's just a continuation of what we were discussing with the prior item.
Correct. Item number 8, review and possible approval of resolutions to fill vacancies on county boards. Commissioners, we have several boards that have some vacancies due to realigning or changing of the planning commission, as well as some boards where a member has left to go on a mission. So we'll just go through these one by one. First we have the Career Service Council. We have one vacancy and we have one applicant, Craig Christensen.
Move to approve.
And I will second that. We actually do have 3 vacancies.
Oh, we do have-
Commissioner. So
Okay.
we still do need 2 other individuals who
I
would volunteer
apologize.
for that.
I'll move to approve the one applicant and to re-advertise and bring it back when we have more applicants.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Motion passes. On the Planning Commission, we have 3 vacancies, 1 regular or full-time and 2 alternates. We have 7 applicants. I'd like to read those applicants in. Tom Peluso, Spencer Loveless, Carrie Van Dyke, Gary Taylor, Kirk McFarland, Lena Topolovic, and Ben Clement.
Commissioner, I'd like to make a motion for the regular, for the regular member. I would like to nominate Gary Taylor, and for the 2 alternatives, I'd like to nominate Spencer Loveless and Kurt McFarland.
Okay. We have a motion.
Seeing that Spencer Loveless is my brother-in-law, I would have to abstain from that. I would also suggest that we might consider, in case you are willing to amend your motion at all, that we might consider Benjamin Clement, who I feel would offer a different view to the board, having worked at the county for so many years, but also having experience on the GIS side of things, and also his connections with the state in various offices of surveying and GIS. I feel that he would be an additional asset, even if he were only an alternate. I don't know if you would be willing to consider that.
I would like to go with my original motion, Mr. Chair.
Okay. I'll step down and second it. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
I will have to abstain.
Okay. We have 2 in favor and 1 abstaining. Item number, the Tourism and Tax Advisory Board. Commissioners, we had 1 applicant, but we cannot appoint to that board because we don't have another from the industry. So there's a no action on that one. The next one is the Water Conservancy District. 1 vacancy for the regular board, Division 1. This is the Schofield area. And we had 2 applicants, Dan Allen and Rudy Metelko. After doing a little bit of review and investigation, Dan Allen does live there. He is a registered voter up there. However, Rudy Metelko lives in Price, and I think that disqualifies him. Christian, do you, the way you see
It's
this?
based on where your voter registration is and where your residence is.
Your
And so,
primary residence, yeah.
no, well, the statute just says,
Just says voter.
Yes.
no, what it says, I'll tell you. It says you must be a registered voter at the location of the member's residence. So basically, and when you file a voter registration application, you have to assert that that is in fact your residence. So for all intents and purposes, it's really based on where your voter registration is.
Okay.
Okay.
Either way, I'll go ahead and make the motion. I make a motion to approve Dan Allen.
I'll second that.
Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion passes. The last vacancy we have is on the Southeastern Utah District Health Board. We have 1 vacancy, and the term expires on December 31st, 2020. We have 1 applicant, and that's Carrie Van Dyke. Commissioners, do you have any?
I move to approve, or at least extend an invitation to him to accept the position, simply with the the caveat that I will be explaining to him the time commitment involved and the travel that is required now that the health department meets in the various counties, and we need to make sure that he's able to attend and represent our county. Assuming that he accepts, then I would say that all is well. If he doesn't accept, then I would say that we need to advertise again. But that my motion being that we move to accept.
We have a motion.
I'll second that.
We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
That concludes our appointments to boards. And just as a note to that, I want to thank those who have served on the board for all of your years of service. That is greatly appreciated. And those who are willing to put their names out to be considered, I want to thank you as well. Public service is appreciated, and very rarely is it ever given a vote of thanks for what they do.
You know, some of these boards require a lot of travel, and a lot of it's not reimbursed. A lot of these boards require hours of time and time outside of meetings. And some of the people who are on these boards, you know, they're not retired. They have their day-to-day jobs that allow them to take time off. And so an appreciation to them and to their employers for allowing them to serve.
Okay.
Make a motion to adjourn.
We are adjourned. Thank you.